If you think that you're going to treat me like that in a workplace when I'm the talent and you're just the help, then you have another thing coming. I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for protecting me, protecting my peace, protecting my physical. I don't talk to people who don't know how to talk to people. That's the part that I had to really work on for me, was the level of calmness and just the absoluteness. And this is my position. This is my boundary. That's it. If we don't have to work together, and I already know that you're problematic, I'm going to avoid you like the plague. She told one of the other girls that, I can't stand that. This is a white girl. I can't stand that B. I want to punch her in her face.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffee No Cream podcast. My name is Erin Braxton and I am the host of Coffee No Cream. Here on Coffee No Cream, we are unapologetically dedicated to Black women, and we share what I like to call Coffee No Cream moments, those things that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black. Now, today we have Dr. Kwanza, whom I spoke to. She reached out to me, wanted to share her story, and it was definitely a good one. Have you ever been confronted with the possibility of a physical altercation at your job? That's what happened to Dr. Kwanza, and she's going to share that story with us. She's also going to give us some really good tips on what we can do to prepare for the types of conflict and interactions that we have in these workspaces as Black women. Now, I love a tip. I love those sorts of tools, and she definitely has some. So stay around for that. Before we get into that, guys, I want to ask that you guys please like, please share, please subscribe to the podcast. We are very, very excited about the growth and all of the feedback that we've been getting. So, we want to create, or I want to create, a community where Black women have a space to share their experiences. It's very important, not only to help ourselves get past some of the trauma that we've been dealing with in the workspace, but also help those who are coming after us, the younger women who will be in these spaces and need to learn how to navigate them. So please, please, please share, like, subscribe, all the things. We also have a Facebook community where we continue the conversation, and it is a safe place. We do check and make sure that you are who you say you are. And if that interests you at all, please come over and join the conversation. The link is below. Also, we have a free educational resource tool where we have compiled over 1,000 free resources, free courses that you can take that will help you level up if you want to learn something new, get into something new, free. And this is free for you. All you have to do is give us your email and you will get access to that tool. Just go to coffeenocream.com/free. I think that's everything. So without further ado, we are going to get into the episode. So welcome, Dr. Kwanza. How are you today?
I am absolutely wonderful, Erin. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell everyone what it is you do. You got that doctor in front of your name. So tell everybody what it is you do.
So I go by Dr. Kwanzaa Falaka. I actually have my PhD in humanities, which is so important in these days. So very timely. But I am a business consultant by day, program manager. My resume is very expansive, but I always say that I am a writer, I'm a speaker. I'm the director of a nonprofit organization, Girlfriend Therapy, which is a faith-based organization. But my day-to-day job, I work as a program manager in support of our great federal government.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow. That's probably a whole nother conversation.
It
right
is.
now.
I'll preface it by saying I'm a contractor program manager. So I'm not a government employee.
Got it.
Yeah.
Contracting we like contractors. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, Here on Coffee No Cream, we share what I like to call coffee no cream moments, those moments that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black. And Dr. Kwanza is going to share with us just one of her coffee no cream moments. I'm sure she's had many, as we all have. So I'm just going to turn it over to her. Dr. Kwanza, what is one of your coffee no cream
Yes.
moments?
So it's funny, Erin, when I was preparing to come on here, I was actually talking to a friend, and I'm prior military as well. And so she asked me, she said, I'm sure you have something to share from the military. I was like, actually, no, the military was really good for me as a Black woman. But I think it was more the woman part where I ran into issues in the military.
Yes. Yes.
But this coffee no cream moment happened in the space of the same space that I'm supporting now, but I was there as a government worker at the time. And I was working on a special project, and I do air quotes because you guys will hear why. It turned out it was still special, but I didn't feel special in it. I'll say that.
Okay.
But nonetheless, the work that we were doing was pretty sensitive work. And there was a small team of us. We were specialized, pulled together for a particular effort. And it was a long term effort, and it was so sensitive that we didn't use our names. So we had like pseudonyms that we would go by. So for example, I would be Kay. And
Okay.
so we would do interviews, and a part of those interviews, like we had our own case files, and they had brought in this older woman, white woman, who was, she had retired, but they brought her in to kind of help with some of the administrative support. And so she would come in and she came in, and a part of her role was to help schedule our interviews. But the premise was you had to schedule it under our pseudonym. You couldn't give them our real name. You couldn't give them any of our contact information or any of that. That was really, really important. And so when she first came in, there was a team of about 5 of us, 3 white males, myself, and then a white woman. And she kind of plays a part in this as well. And then this older woman who had retired had come back to support us again administratively. And so she, shortly after she got there, she was trying to schedule our appointments or our interviews. And one of the first interviews that she scheduled for me, she literally put my full name and my personal cell phone out there. So I'm at home one evening and I get a call, and it's someone calling me by name on my personal call. And I was like, what the heck? So the next day I got to work and I shared that with my boss, who's our team lead. And I was like, I don't want her scheduling my interviews anymore. Now, prior to her coming, we were like doing it ourselves, scheduling our own interviews. And I think they just brought her back to try to help her get, more income or whatever the case was. But I let my boss know that I didn't want her scheduling my interviews, and here's why. So he was like, fair enough, that's fine. I guess she took offense to that. And so after that, she would not speak to me. She would, bring in her
Yeah.
dirty cookies for the rest of the team and would like hand them out to everybody, wouldn't give me
Not
any,
dirty
right,
cookies.
dirty cookies.
We know how we are about eating everybody's
Listen,
food.
she was
Yes.
not going to be any favors. And so, she would, speak to everybody. She wouldn't speak to me. Which was fine because I didn't need her. She wasn't a part of my day to day or what I
Right.
needed to do to be successful. And so one day we were in a meeting and I was talking. Now she's just, and I hate to say she was there as the help, but you were administrative support. We
Support
were the
staff.
team, support staff. We were
Mm-hmm.
the team. As far as I'm concerned, when we're in a meeting, you don't have anything to add to this meeting, let alone when I'm talking. So I was
Mm.
talking and I'm kind of giving updates on my caseloads and things like that. And she, for whatever reason, started interjecting. And I just kind of put my hand up. I don't know if you guys, I just kind of put my hand up like that. And she but I kept talking. I didn't look at her. I just put my hand up like this and kept talking to my boss. And you're not going to give me the hand. And she just like goes off. And I just keep talking. And my boss, meanwhile, he's like, okay, you're like trying to calm her down. I just keep talking. We get through the meeting. That was pretty much it. So about a couple of weeks later, my boss was on vacation. And I'm trying to make the story as condensed as possible, but my boss
Go
was on
ahead. Yeah, that's
vacation.
fine.
Okay. So my boss is on vacation, and we had got another young lady on the team, and she was more senior than the rest of us. And so she was kind of the boss in his absence. So she was
White
kind of,
woman.
yes.
Okay.
But she was a part of the LGBT community, so I don't know if that matters. But she was very masculine.
Okay.
But she was really cool. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that for shade, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just to kind of give her demeanor. So, my boss is on vacation. We're working our caseloads like we always do. The other girl on the team, the other white girl I mentioned, she was like a typical. She was just typical,
Typical
like,
what?
like she didn't know how to do anything. She was really pretty. Like she wasn't really pretty. She was cute, but I
Was she
think
younger?
she was younger, and it was always like, oh my God, I don't know. Oh, I can't. Can someone help me? And the
Yeah. Yeah.
guys would like fall over themselves to help her with whatever. Like anything she complained about, they were, at her beck and call. So she happened to have been working on a case, and a part of what we do the investigations, and then we send it to another team for adjudications. And so they would basically take our investigation, our reports and all that. So we would do their interview, write a report, do any other investigations around it. And then we would write the report and send it to adjudications where they would make a decision. And so she was at the point where her caseload was always backed up. Like she was always behind on her caseload. So one of the young ladies who happened to be Black that worked in our adjudications team, she, I guess, reached out to her to say, hey, we're waiting on this case. You haven't sent it yet. Now, I'm minding my own business over here doing my own thing. And I hear her sharing like, oh, my God, she's reaching out to me, asking about my case. When am I going to be done? And everything was just like this drama.
Right.
So meanwhile, I'm talking to another friend who happened to work in adjudications at the same time. We were kind of chatting during our internal chat system. And so it was a show that had just come on. So we was like, oh, meet me in at the vending machines because we want to talk about the show. So I was like, all right, I'm on my way. I'll meet you over there. So I kind of gather my change and I tell the other young lady, I'm like, well, just set the expectation, like let her know when she can expect the report. So I say my piece and I grab my change.
You say that to the younger white girl.
Exactly. Because
Okay.
the whole time that I'm chatting with my friend, she's complaining in the background about how this other lady is asking for her report. So I'm like, well, just tell her a date so you can set the expectation. Like, it's not a big deal. I didn't say the not a big deal part, but I was just kind of like a matter of fact, like, well, just give her a date so that way she can know and you can set the expectation. Yeah. Grab my change, go out to the vending machine to meet my friend mostly to chat about this new show. And so we get to the little, it was like a little nook where the vending machine is. And we're in there, we're chatting. The guy was in there updating or putting more snacks in the vending machine. So we ended up not getting anything, but we still kind of chatted a bit. So now when I come out of the vending area, I go to the right towards my office. My friend, she goes to the left towards her office. And as I'm coming out, the older white woman that's there, the administrative support, she's walking down the hallway. So I pass her, and now she's behind my other friend that works in adjudication. So she goes into her office, into the adjudication's office. And I don't know where the administrative lady goes. I go back to my desk and I'm minding my business. So a few minutes later, the white lady administrator, she comes in and she tells the other girl, like, oh, you don't have to reach out to the woman in adjudications because Kwanza was already talking to her. And I'm like, excuse you? Like, no, I wasn't. I was like, and contrary to popular belief, we all don't look alike. And so I just, kept kind of doing my work, but I was irritated that, and she was like, yes, you did. I seen you. And I was like, no, you didn't. And I just kind of left it at that. And so a few minutes passed and I'm still kind of irritated. So then I go back to the vending machine because I really wanted to get my snack.
Yeah.
So I go back out to the vending machine, get my snack. And as I'm coming back in, now the way our office was set up, there were like cubicles. So the first cubicle was like where our boss would sit along with the new girl that was there. That was the acting boss. And then the administrative girl was sitting. They all sat in that first cubicle. Then I think 3 of the guys sat in the second cubicle. And then the third cubicle was me, the girl, the other white girl, and another guy. And so I'm coming back in the office and I got to pass everybody's cubicle to get to mine. Mine is the third one down the hallway. And so I come in and I kind of stop at the first cubicle because I'm still kind of like, what is she talking about? I was really irritated.
Yeah.
So I stop at the first cubicle and I stop in a way where my right, like I'm still walking down the hallway, but I kind of turn my upper body. So my lower body is still kind of facing the direction I'm
Yeah.
walking, if that makes sense. And so I look at the lady, I say, can I talk to you for a second? And she was like, no. I was like, okay, that's fine. I said, but stop putting my name. I didn't say like, don't put my name in your mouth, but I was like, but don't talk about me. Like, don't talk about me if it's something you don't know. And I just kind of turned around, and before I can like turn my upper body, she was like here, like right in my face. Now, at the time, I wore my hair straight. It was relaxed, and I had like a short bob. And she was like, you don't tell me what I can say. You don't tell me I seen you talking to her. And I was like, no, you didn't. But now I'm facing and I'm walking towards my office. Now, this woman, remind you, she had retired and they brought her back. So she was well into her 60s.
Okay.
And so now she's like in my face, and I'm like walking, like trying to get back to my desk. And she's like, just rah, rah, rah. And I can, like, she's so close to me. I can feel like her spittle on my neck. And my hair is like going like this. And the other lady, she grabs her because, mind you, I'm walking away. So the other lady, the one that's the acting boss, she grabs her, like she's literally holding her. And this old lady is walking so fast, trying to get to me, that she is like almost
physically on you.
Yes. Okay. And she says, what are you going to do? Go to EEO like y'all always do? And I'm just like, okay.
Oh my God.
So in this moment, now I'm walking past everybody else's cubicle, and I'm thinking, surely somebody is like, like, what the heck? But I'm walking past these cubicles, Erin, and everybody is just like this. Nobody is looking up. So I get to my cubicle, and by the time I get to my cubicle, she is like reaching for me. And this woman like grabs her with both hands at this point, and she snatches and she's holding her back like this. And she is foaming at the mouth, yelling all kind of, I seen you talking to her. You don't talk. Like, she was just angry. And I'm standing here like, okay, I knew in that moment, I was like, if I respond the way that I want to respond, which is at a minimum, mush her in her face. I know that I was like, they are going to drag me out of here.
Right. If you responded like she responded, they would have drugged you out of there.
Exactly. And so I was so angry. And finally, the other lady, she drags her off and takes her back to their cubicle, wherever they are. Nobody else, none of my other team members say anything. That's why I said it wasn't really special, didn't feel special, because we should have been like, I come from a military background. And so when we talk about team, like, team is important to me. Sure. And the fact that everybody like dropped their heads, buried their heads, act like they didn't see or hear anything was crazy to me. And so I gather myself, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I'm fuming, like I can feel like my whole body is shaking. So I ended up going to my car and I called my husband. And by the time he got on the phone, I was just like bawling. I was, of course,
you're so mad.
Angry tears. Exactly.
So mad. Yes.
I was like, I've never been that mad before in my life.
Yeah.
But I was like, just so angry. And, he kind of talked me off the ledge. And because of the work that we were doing, we had like mentors. So we had our boss, then we had like two mentors. And then we had like our chief and our deputy chief and our chief. So there was a lot of leadership above us. And again, I mean, the work was presented as if it was like a special assignment and we were special to be selected and all this stuff. And so my husband's like, well, you need to go talk to somebody, like, to get, to present this, like what happened. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to calm myself down. So all our leadership was in a different building. So I walk over to their building, and I go to the front office, and there, the secretary, she was there, and she could see that I was kind of shaken. And I'm asking for like the two mentors first. So I'll just say Jim and Bob. And I was like, is Jim here? And she's just like, oh no, Jim is out today. And I was like, okay. And I'm just like trying to hold it together. Like, I can only get out the words that I need to get out, because that lump in my throat was just like suffocating. Yeah. So then I kind of take a deep breath. I'm like, is Bob here? And she's like, no, Bob is not here either. Now at this point, she can kind of see like, okay, what's going on? And then I asked for the deputy chief, and she's like, he's not here. But I can see, I'll call him Mac, who was the chief. And he was racist. There was no question he was racist. Like, I didn't even
Mhm.
talk to him. He didn't talk to me, and it was
Yeah.
fine. But he was the only one that I've seen. And so I'm asking for all the other people that I know that I have a relationship with that I can talk to. All of them white men, by the way. And
Mhm.
so when she says that Jim, which is the deputy chief, he's not there. At this point, I'm just kind of like, I can't even hold it together anymore. So she comes from around her desk. She grabs me up. She's like, but Mac is here. So she takes me to like his office. And before I know it, she takes me to his office. I'm sitting down in front of him and I am bawling. And he's
And
just sitting there.
Mac's the racist one.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But he is like the big boss. He's in charge of everything, like the whole organization.
Right.
And I'm sitting here and I'm just like in tears. And I'm trying to get myself together. I'm mad that I'm crying at work. I'm mad that I have to be in the, everything. I'm just angry. And I'm trying to get myself together. And he's sitting there like unbothered, like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so I'm trying to explain to him what happened. I'm talking over tears. And he says, well, I think you've spent enough time in this organization and it's probably time for you to move on anyway. And that was his response. And I'm just like,
Okay.
there again, there goes this special assignment. There goes this, you're special for being a part of this team. And then, I ended up, after I talked with him, he, was no help. I ended up going to packing my stuff up and I went home for the day.
Okay.
The next day, I reached out to our employee relations, and there was a young woman that I worked with. She wasn't young, but she was like the chief of employee relations, and she was a bit of a mentor to me in that space as well. And I reached out to her informally and shared with her everything that happened. And her response was, "Well, you have been here for a while, so it could be a good time for you to find something else, and you don't really want to burn any bridges." It was just like, okay. So then I go to EEO, like she said, we always do.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey,
So
it's there for a reason.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
go to EEO again informally, and I'm explaining to him what happened, and it was a black guy, and he says the same thing. Well, I understand, but you don't want to burn any bridges, and that literally was the only response that I got. Needless to say, I did end up finding a different job, still staying in that same space, but just found
Mhm.
another office to work in.
Mhm.
Um, But one of the things that I learned from that was like, okay, I have to really find a way to fight for myself, to stand up for myself and protect myself in a workspace that doesn't involve putting hands on anybody or cursing anybody out, but like really trying to find a way.
But who first of all, the fact that this white woman like physically came at you.
Yeah.
So obviously nothing happened to her,
Nope.
right? Okay. How so when they all told you that, how long did it take you to exit this particular position?
I probably was there for at least another month, maybe another 2 months or so. Oh, I was there for like 2 months because when I found the job, they said they wanted to hold me for a month so I can finish up my cases.
And what was your interaction with this white woman in that time, during that time, in that month's time?
I mean, she still was around, still handing out her dirty cookies and still acting the same way that she had acted before, as if
And you
nothing
just
had ever happened.
mm-hmm. And
And
okay, so you mentioned, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and even when my boss returned, remember I told you the
Yeah.
team lead, he was on vacation. Even when he returned, he pulled me aside. He was like, "Yeah, I heard what happened. I'm sorry that happened," but it was still it was no recourse. Like it was nothing done to solve it. It was just like, "I'm sorry
Yeah.
that happened."
Yeah. Yeah. And I think and I know this is, part of the trauma that we all experience because you can't it's like it happened. Everybody knows it happens. You
Right.
know what's going on, and nobody does anything about it. There's nobody who's like your ally in those situations. There's
Exactly.
nobody, standing up for you, fighting for you. So you're left to deal with the impact it has on you emotionally, as
Exactly.
opposed to feeling supported and that sort of thing. So wow, that's wow. I mean, I know you give me like a bit of the story before Because I was
Yeah.
like, okay, okay, yeah, this will be interesting. You give me a, for those of you who are listening, when you come on the show, I ask for just a snippet, not the whole thing, right? Because I
Right.
want to be reacting in real time. So I had no idea this is the way it's going
Yeah.
to go. That's
And
crazy. Okay.
I think I just shared with you the part of what are you going to do? Go to EEO like you always,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
always do. Yeah.
Hey, an EEOC is there for a reason. I don't know. I don't really know anybody who's gone to EEOC and had success. I'm sure people do.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know of those people. Um, Somebody very close to me did, and I guess they did because they knew it was so bad. They ended up just settling
Oh,
on
wow.
monetarily. Yeah, yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. Um, okay, so when stuff like this happens, I want to talk about like the impact of that on you, and how you feel like that impacted you going forward, right? If it did at all. Because I talked about, just, and this will be last week's episode, on things getting in our head and how they can get in our head. And this is one of those situations where it wasn't an ongoing thing. It wasn't something that had been constantly happening. It was an incident,
Hmm.
and then that gets in, and then that happens, and then you can't make peace with it on the job. So then how does it impact you going forward? How do you make, come to terms with it as you're going forward, working in your next positions, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Well, I'll say, I think for me, that was honestly the first time that I had ever experienced that in a workplace. I had never, but it wasn't the last,
Nobody's ever
unfortunately.
experienced
Right.
that. What are you talking? That's
But it
crazy.
wasn't the last, oddly enough. Um, and it was always an older white woman that I've had at least four. Well, that's hers would be the fourth one, so at least three encounters of it, along with hers. I've had
Okay.
four encounters in total in that same workspace, work environment, and I had been there for maybe 6 years. And so in 6 years, I had four encounters, and I realized, okay, this is just how y'all move around here.
Right.
Like it has
Right.
nothing to do with me. And then it's one of those things where I felt like because I didn't need your support, I don't know if you felt like, oh, she thinks she's better or she thinks she's whatever. It's always she thinks she's whatever, they fill in the blank. Um, but I realized quickly that, okay, this is just how people are going to, in this environment, how they see me. I'm very self sufficient, very independent. Like I've never had a job where I've had problems figuring it out. Like I just do what I need to do and keep moving on. I don't like drama. So, but it's like, but if you think that you're going to treat me like that in a workplace when I'm the talent and you're just the help, then you have another thing coming. And so I started to say how I learned to really kind of know, one, I have to protect myself because all the apparatus and organizations and all that stuff that was there that should have been helpful really wasn't helpful. But it was a condition of that environment. And everybody was just kind of like the many times that people say, don't burn bridges. That was the first time I ever even heard that term, like, don't burn bridges.
Mm.
You don't want to burn any bridges. It's like, what? Um, so that was kind of like their main thing. It was like, don't burn bridges. So I realized that I had to figure out a way, if I was going to stay in that environment, in that capacity, I had to figure out a way to protect myself. Again, that didn't involve putting my hands on people. But to say what I needed to say, because I'm a communicator at heart. So when I feel like I
Hmm.
can't communicate, that's a big problem for me. And so I learned how to communicate in a way that's been, always been very direct, to the point where I think the time after that, when something happened, I told a woman who was well into her, 60s at the time, I was like, you ought to be ashamed. Like literally, she's going off acting a complete ass. And I was like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You are 60 something years old and you're in here acting like a toddler. And
Hmm.
you seen her face. She was just like, and the
Yeah.
second time, it was a similar situation. And the woman, she was going off. had nothing to do with me, but she targeted her anger towards me. And she was another older woman. I was the person that would be in the office, and like the younger people would be cursing and, just being unprofessional. And I'm like, don't talk like you're at work, first of all. And then there's, other people around, be mindful of the company. So I would always kind of really protect her space. But she one day decided she wanted to act a fool, and I literally was like, nope, come with me. We're going to the front office right now. And she was just like, you don't know, you come with me. I called her to the front office, and I'm walking to the front office, and I'm calling out for my manager. The manager comes out, who's another white woman. And I'm just like, you need to deal with her. So I started taking that approach. It's like, no longer are you going to just come into my space with all this venom. I'm going to call you out before you try to, cross any lines with me. And so that's how I approach it. In every conversation, it's like I said, it happened 3 other times after this first one, but I learned okay, no, I'm going to take control of this narrative. And if we have to go to the front office, we're going to the front office. I'm not going to the front office, crying and all this stuff. It's like, no, we're going to bring the leadership involved and hold everybody accountable to do what they're supposed to do in their position. And that's how I approach it now.
Okay. So the time that we heard about, that was the first time this had happened to you. Okay. And you're saying you had to learn, I can't remember your exact words, but you were just saying you had to learn how to deal with this kind of thing. So in dealing with that, this was one of the ways that you learned how to deal with it. So Can you go into that a little bit more? Because my goal is to help women, young women in particular, women figure out solutions, because, sometimes you're not in a situation where you can immediately leave, or you have the support to do that. You have to stay until you can go, right? So what does that look like? So you said when the next woman started talking to you crazy, you're calling her to the office. Explain more about what that would look like for somebody.
One of the things I always say, even for myself, and again, part of the lesson that I learned was I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for protecting me, protecting my peace, protecting my physical, obviously, because people don't know how to act in the workplace. And so it was very important for me to, one, understand the boundaries that I set, help other people understand the boundaries that I set. And I'm not bending on any of the boundaries, to the point where if I need to pack up and leave, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pack up and just leave for the day. All right, I'm shutting down now, and I'm going home to decompress or whatever I need to do. But then also holding leadership accountable to say, hey, you this happened on your watch, whether you're here or not, how you feel about anything. You have a responsibility and an obligation to address this in a responsible way. You can't just let it go. Oh, you find another job and we don't have to deal with it. No, or pulling me aside, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. Don't be sorry it happened to me. Make sure it doesn't happen to anybody else by removing this unprofessional person out of this space. So my advice to young people is to, one, set your boundaries and be firm on your boundaries. When you're in a workplace, and I tell my daughter this, it's in your workplace, those are your peers. I don't care what role they play. You're there because you're a professional and you're supposed to be here. And if somebody else don't know how to play professionally, then hold them accountable. First of all, keep them at arm's length away from you. And you have every right to protect yourself and say, you don't talk to me. You don't come around me. If you need to say anything to me, you send it through email or you send it through this person. And if it's somebody that I just cannot work with for whatever reason, I'll find another position. But I think those are the 3 things: setting your boundaries and holding people to your boundaries, and don't bend on it, especially if it's if it's between you being disrespected or even harmed. Hold on to your boundaries and stand firm on them. Yeah. Also letting people know that you're not going to do this to me. You're not going to talk to me that way. And I've always been very vocal. Like I said, my voice has always been my weapon of choice. So I've always been very vocal. But you want to be vocal and professional, right?
Absolutely.
So really, even if you have to have like like I teach my daughters, like have your key phrases. If somebody says something that's out of pocket, have your key phrases, write it down before you ever find yourself in
Yeah.
that situation so that you can go to it. If someone says, something offensive, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but that's not a professional response in the workplace. Like
Okay,
there's nothing
let's
wrong with saying
get into
that.
that. Let's
Yes.
get into that. Okay, okay. I like this because I did an episode on boundaries, but it wasn't in this way because I was
Hmm.
talking about, listen, you need to erect some boundaries around yourself, and while you're doing that, to protect yourself, not only from you against the world, but for you protecting yourself against from yourself, because sometimes we
Yeah.
tend to overgive, we tend to do so much, right? So those boundaries are in place, and then you use those boundaries to level up, like you use those
Exactly.
boundaries to work on your own shit, as I've said.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, like, okay, so I like what you said about you need to be prepared with your responses. Like I said, because we were talking about going to happy hours and extracurricular
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
stuff one time, and you just don't want to do it, right? You don't want
Right.
to go, right? But I know, and and maybe not in your line of work, but when you work sometimes for these corporations, it is an unwritten rule. It
Right.
is part of your job description that you do have to do some stuff you don't want to do, but you can
Right.
put some boundaries around it. But I like what you're talking about with prepared responses, because I said in that situation, people want you to go do stuff you don't want to do it. Be ready. Be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I would love to. It sounds so fun.
Right.
But I've got this thing, right? Be ready.
Exactly.
Or they start talking to you about who's sleeping with such and such, office gossip, whatever, whatever. Be like, what? I didn't know that, and move around, right?
Yeah.
So I want to talk more about that. So, because you've done this, you're obviously, you have experience in this area. What are some ways that you have put up boundaries? I love this, preparing your responses. That's like so key.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so key. But let's talk about that, like
So
how you boundary up.
yeah, so I'll tell you, I come from a PR background as well. So I'm the master of a canned
Yes.
response.
Yes.
But I think when you're in a moments like that where, especially when someone is doing something and you want to act or respond out of emotion, but if I go there, then it's going to be bad.
It's on. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So in order to like tap out of your emotions, but still get your point across, right? Because I think a lot of times when people are coming, they want the smoke, right?
They want it. Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
know that, they know that I don't have a problem going there, but I don't always want to go there, especially not at work. So
Takes you
I
out of
have
who you are. You're not that person.
exactly,
Yeah. Hmm.
exactly. And so I have those canned responses in those moments. Like, and I literally, when I say that I have lists
Give us
of,
some examples. This is what I like.
let me
Okay.
see.
Yes. This is a
Yes.
good. This is good.
I wish I would have thought I would have
I
brought my
didn't.
list.
Well, again, we don't
Right.
know where the conversation's going to
We don't know
go.
where it's going to go. But so
You,
things like, one of the things I always say if someone says something and is disrespectful, like, "Oh, I need you to do," and it's like, well, first of all, we're going to be professional, so let's take a step back and you ask me again, what is it that you need, and I'll see how I can help you.
so
So,
you
and I
say
keep it,
that.
I say that, and I keep
Okay.
a peaceful demeanor because again, they want the smoke, but I don't give it to them. Um, if they say something that is um derogatory. I've sat in boardrooms where I'm sitting around the table and someone will say something crass about, something that you just don't say in the workplace. And I'll
Right.
say, be mindful of the company that's around you. Be mindful
Hmm.
of the company that's around you. And I'll say it
Right.
just like that. And they'll look like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, think that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's just, but and I've done that all, like coming out of the military, I've done that when I was in the military. Just really this understanding of having to guard yourself and protect yourself. So
Mm.
whatever phrase feels natural to you. So for example, if someone says, like I had this one boss at one time where she would like take my work and present it as her own.
Mm.
And she did it twice. So she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, Kwanzaa, can you send me the report that you worked on?" Da da da. And I'm like, "Sure." I send it to her, not thinking anything, and then get to a meeting and she presents, and I'm like, "But that's my report."
Right.
And then it's like, "But that was my report." She's like, "Oh, well, no, I made this change." So she could make one little small change. Now I'm
Right.
sending the
Right. Right.
report. I got
Mm.
one for that one. So now she would say, Kwanzaa, can you share that report with me? Now I send it to her in a PDF, like an unchangeable PDF.
Okay.
And so then she came back and was like, well, why did you send it to me in a PDF? Why do you need it in any other format?
Right. Right.
So that's my response. Why do you need it in any other format? I don't have to get into the fact that you stole my work and tried to present it as your own.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
tell me why you need it in another format.
This is all part of what I titled my last video, and I was talking about the quiet clapback. This
Yeah,
is like the quiet clapback. Like, I don't have to tell you, I'm about to show that, just
yeah,
quietly.
exactly. And
Ooh,
that
I like.
Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it makes them so much angrier because you're just like so peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that, it's like, okay, you guys really you're really just wanting a response, but I'm going to give you a better response than what you think because I'm going to be very peaceful. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones,
Oh
and
my
these
God,
these
that's
are
so good. These are good. People, I'm telling
real life
you,
responses.
because the podcast has been so helpful to so many I
Yeah,
already, and these are things, because I learned stuff. I'm like, now what would you do, right? Because I don't know how old you are. I feel like we're in the same
yeah,
zone, and
absolutely.
yeah, and I'm just like, it's helpful, right?
Yeah,
Protecting yourself, though, that's a form of protection. The boundaries,
100%.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love this. If you can think of some more, please
Yeah.
share.
And then it's like really just putting it back on the person because
Mm-hmm.
like another person I worked with, and she was like, "Well, just tell me, like, what can you do?" It's like, "Well, what do you need?" She was new to our organization, and
Uh-huh.
the team was already there, and everybody is like, know what we're doing. She doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know the organization, but she wants to come in and she wants to change it. So
Mm-hmm.
her first meeting with me was, and I was kind of like in a deputy type position for her role. So she was like the PM. I was kind of like a deputy PM, but as a contractor.
Right.
And she came in, and it was clear that she really didn't know. And because she didn't know, like her sense of insecurity was like super high. And I recognized that. So I knew that anything that I say is it was like, okay, so here's the guide to do this. I knew that anything that I offered her would be taken like I'm trying to um, show her up or something,
Right, right, right.
um, and so one of our first meetings, she says, "So do you take notes for me?" And I was like, "No, we take our own notes." And she's like, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, first of all, it might be helpful if you understood the organization." I said, "So I would just encourage you to learn the organization and then figure out what you need and then figure out how I can help you." So
So
I'm
you
a
were
big fan of putting it
reporting
back
to
on her.
her.
Right,
Okay, okay.
right.
Because when you said deputy, I was like, wouldn't that put you, I don't know if that puts you
Huh?
above or below. I don't know.
Yeah, it would if I was so because I'm a contractor. It if I was a government person like she's a government person, then it would probably made us a more close or a
Mm-hmm.
closer relationship rather. But
Mm-hmm.
because I work in a billing status, and there was like so much turnover, so now the requirement had changed, right? So it was like, so you have to decide what's important to you. Like, I'm here to support you. But if your requirements change, then you have to set, okay, these are my priorities. But you can't set priorities for something that you don't know. And so that for me is a lot of times it's like, I'm not going to play into your hands of being disrespectful or even coming off with an attitude, but I'll put it back on you for you to, let's see how we can solve it together. But I'm not going to solve it for you, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you diffuse the older white woman who is clearly triggered by your presence, by your accomplishments, by you, especially, well, this is I don't want to get political, but this is
Yeah.
yeah, this is a problem. You know, these women are put in these situations. When Abby, the attorney, was on, she talked about how when she first started working, one of the her assistant, this woman, wasn't wasn't I guess transcribing her
Um,
depositions or whatever, and just throwing them behind her desk, not doing them, purposely trying to set
yeah.
her up. I
Yeah.
have another friend, and that woman ended up getting fired, and they were in Georgia. She said, I won't never work for that little black girl, right?
Oh, wow.
Um, I have a friend who's an attorney, and she got out of college, and she just had passed the bar. It wasn't, but I don't know if this was a black woman that did this to her. That's a whole nother conversation that we
Yeah.
need to get into as well. And the woman, somebody was stealing from her office. They kept stealing things from her office, or one of her assistants wasn't reporting her time, and the attorneys didn't even
Oh,
have the software to report the time. So she wouldn't report the time. So it was like, attorneys, accountants, advertising, where I came from, is a service-based industry. It's billable time.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that's where you make money.
Yeah.
So, setting you up, sabotaging you, things like that are very common when you're dealing with these older white women,
Yeah.
a lot of times, who did not realize some potential in their life, or they didn't
Exactly.
do anything that came close to what you do, and then you come in and you are in more of a senior role than them. It can create problems. So
Sure.
how do you diffuse situations such as this, where you're dealing with this personality?
I'll say a couple of things. I think as I was coming up in my career, that's when I would have like my canned responses and
Mhm.
uh, but then as I got more into my career, I realized I go into a new role and I say, okay, who am I working with? What is the relationship? What's the necessity of my engagement with them? And I have a practice. Then I'll let anybody know I don't talk to people who don't know how to talk to people. So that's another one of my canned responses.
Mm,
So
okay. What does
if
that mean? Tell us. I don't
that
talk to
means
people who don't know how to talk to people.
if you don't know how to talk to people, don't talk to me because I'm not going to be responsive to you. I had this one older white woman, and she was never nasty to me, but I seen her being nasty to other people. But she wasn't nasty to me because I didn't deal with her.
Right.
I really do again make it a point. If you're not somebody that I have to engage to get my job done, then I'm not going to engage you. I don't do a lot of just small talk and because people just don't know how to act. I don't
Hmm.
the work
Yeah.
world has really changed. People are so unprofessional. And I just sit back and watch how they treat each other, how they talk to one another. So I make a mental note like, okay, I'm not dealing with them. And if I have to, I literally go in with this one particular lady. I had to deal with her on one issue. And I was like, hey, can you give me the answer to da da da? And she's like, oh, well, let me get to the background. I don't need the background. I just need the answer. And
Mm,
that literally is my response. And she's just like, taken aback because other
right.
people just appease that. And it's like, no, I'm coming in to get what I need. I don't need the background. Just give me the answer and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Or she'll try to share because, try to share more than what I need to know. It's like, I don't need to know that. So I don't have a problem with one kind of shutting people down. And this particular lady, when I first started in the organization, she came and introduced herself to me. And I had heard that she had just finished her master's. And I was like, oh, congratulations. She introduced herself to me. I was like, oh, congratulations. I just heard you finish your master's. And she's like, oh, thank you so much. This is my second master's. I'm working on my third. I was like, oh, wow, congratulations. And she was like, are you educated? And I was like,
That's a weird
okay.
question.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, I kind of hear what you're trying to ask. Not quite sure that's the way to ask it. But
Right?
then I turned on this air and I said, actually, me and my daughter are both PhD. I said, actually, fun fact, me and my daughter are both PhDs. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, oh. So it's like, just
Are
say
you
thank you.
educated or
Right.
what?
Like, just say thank you. You don't have to
Right?
engage with me like that. So
Uh-huh.
that's what I mean when I say when people don't know how to really just be in the workplace. But she was someone I just, if I didn't have to talk to her, I don't. Um,
Mm.
and I am a fan of packing up and leaving for the day.
Okay,
I
talk
am a
about it.
fan. Yes, I will. Um,
Talk about it. Yeah.
had another lady, and this was in one job, and had, she was explaining, so it was a task that I was working on, but instead of explaining her part to me, she was explaining it to someone else on the team. And the way she stood, like me and the other person on the team sat right near each other, but she had
Mm-hmm.
her back to me and she was explaining it to the other person on the team. Meanwhile, I was the person that was working it. And so I said, I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part that you said? And she like kind of turned around and, flipped her head like what? I didn't know I need to repeat myself. And I'm like, well, you don't have to repeat yourself. I just wanted to hear that I'm working on the action and I wanted to track that what I'm assuming is the same thing that you're assuming and just making sure that we're on task. But I didn't hear that last part. And she's like, oh, well, I already told her, so I don't know that I need to repeat myself. Fair enough. And I just shut my computer down, packed my stuff up, and I left for the day.
Okay. Wait a minute. So were you guys in a meeting or you guys were just like,
No, we were at our desk and she came over
uh-huh.
to where my desk and my colleague's desk was like right next to each other. And the
Mm-hmm.
colleague was the person that had come in that didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
That was a whole nother story because she was black, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And because she didn't know, she was just throwing everything for me to do, which
Okay.
was fine. I didn't have a problem doing the work. But then when the other lady came and was trying to give her part of the feedback, she was giving it to this other woman that wasn't doing the work. And so we're at our desk and she comes over. And although our desk is like side by side, the way she stood was like her back was towards me. So I can kind of hear what she was saying, but not. So I was
Right.
like leaned in to hear, but I couldn't hear everything. So when I asked her to repeat that last part, and she just kind of spazzed out a little bit, I was like, okay. And I just shut my computer down, packed my stuff up, put it away, and say, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Right. Right. Right.
So,
So do you do that? Like you said, I have no problem with doing that. Like other instances where you just are
oh my
like, you know
gosh.
what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
It's unfortunate, Erin. I mean, there's so many examples where people just either they don't know how to talk to you, just incredibly disrespectful. And earlier, like I said, earlier in my career, had that woman did that today, I'll probably start here. Had that incident where she followed behind me, storming up in my, following, yelling in my ear, I would have stopped in my tracks and I would have turned around and I would have put my hand out. And if she would have touched my hand, she probably would have got mushed a little bit. But
Yeah.
I would have been very clear that you are out of line and you are crossing boundaries. And that's
Right.
probably literally what I would have said to her. And I would be like, you better let her go sit you back down before this becomes a problem.
Right.
And I would have just been that calm, that firm. And that's the part that I had to really work on for me was the level of calmness and just the
Mm.
absoluteness. And this is my position. This is my boundary. That's it.
Right.
And then and what
Calmness.
you do with what you do with that, what you will. Um,
Right.
And I
Yeah.
mean, I am really high up in my career now,
Yeah.
but I still run into a lot of, and my daughter is young in the workforce, and she just called me literally before we got on this call. She called me and she said that she had just started a new job and she had been trying to I guess it's somebody that's like her acting chief or whatever, that's not doing their job, that's not been responsive. So they get into this meeting and she says that the chief, and my daughter works virtually, she said the chief like messaged her, like they're in the meeting, giving the briefing. My daughter's prepared to talk to her slide. And all the leadership is there, and her boss, acting boss, whatever, messages her and say, "Oh, can you talk to slide, whatever?" And I told my daughter was like, I'm so upset. Like she just sent that to me like in the middle of the meeting. And she was like, she said, so I just replied to her, was like, well, no, I wasn't prepared to talk to that slide. It's not updated. I don't know who's responsible for that. I said I would have ignored her
Yeah.
Because my daughter's
Yeah.
like, I'm so upset. I felt like I should have done more, or I could have reached. I was like, no. You know, I said, you know, she said she had been reaching out to her, but she was non-responsive. I said, so she can't respond to you in advance of the meeting, but she thinks that you're supposed to respond to her in real time. I said,
Right.
I would have ignored her message. My daughter's like, would you have really? I was like, absolutely, 100%, a hundred
Yeah, because
percent,
it's like covering for her. It's like, I'm ill
exactly,
prepared. I'm here. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I need you to save my ass in this moment.
exactly. I was like,
Hmm.
I would have not responded, and that I'm literally like, that's how I would have responded. Um, without a response, I wouldn't have acknowledged her comment at all.
I think that the struggle for a lot of people is, the lack of respect, the disrespect. You
Yeah,
want to command respect. You want to do it in such a way that you still have a job, you know, um,
exactly.
until you know you have another job, or whatever, and also I've spoken about, you said when those people told you it was time for you to go due to nothing wrong that you had done, and then you went
Right,
out and you found another position. It's not like it was when our parents and grandparents, whatever
right,
little job they had, they worked a job from the beginning of their career to the end, and then you retire and go sit down, right? Whereas now you can't go into any of these jobs even thinking that you're going to be there for the long haul.
right,
You have to be ready to pivot and move, and you have to be agile enough so you can go when you need to
right.
go, right? And you always have to be working on something on the side, always have to be prepared because you might have to go, right? You don't know.
Exactly.
You
And I'd
don't
say my
know.
reputation is, for me, the community. I've been in this community for over 25 years at this point. When this situation happened, it was probably 20 years ago.
Mhm.
But it's still the same community. A lot of those people have since retired. But a couple of things that I realized is that one, I'm responsible for my reputation.
Right.
So I'm always going to do my very best with regards to my job and my responsibilities. But what I realized too is a lot of times the people that have run-ins with are people that honestly have nothing to do with my job. Like it could just be somebody that sits in the office space with me or somebody that's an administrative assistant that I really don't need you to administer anything for me. So it's always these tertiary people who have
Mhm.
nothing to do with me. And so if I can cut that relationship off, then that's what I do. And after a while, you kind of recognize the problematic people, they carry that same energy. So I could go to a whole new office while they're introducing me to the people in the office. It's like, ooh, okay, I've seen this personality before, and I
Right.
already put them over here. Like, and if I don't, and that honestly is one of the things I keep referring back to my daughter because in real time she is a young person new to the work world and encountering some of these things that I've encountered before. And the advice that I give to anybody is the exact same advice that I would give to my daughter. And I wouldn't steer her wrong, so I, wouldn't steer anybody wrong with
Yeah.
my advice. I would say recognize who it is that you really have to work with and why. I know you did a session when you talk about like friendships in the workplace and things
Mhm.
like that. There are
Mhm.
people that I think organically you find relationship with and, you
Yeah.
can have conversations with or whatever. But if we don't have to work together, and I already know that you're problematic, I'm going to avoid you like the plague. Um, and that's it.
Right. Oh
you
yeah.
know so sometimes we feel like we go into the workplace and we have to connect with everybody. It's like, no, I literally make a list, Erin, of, okay, this is where I sit, this is the organization, these are all the key players, here are the stakeholders, like who do I need to talk to and who do I not need to talk to. And I will write
Mm.
names down on the paper or positions on the paper, and I will literally cross them out if there's somebody that I don't have to talk to.
You're very organized about it though. And I like your strategy, right? Like you have your responses ready, you put your org chart together and for who you need to deal with and who you don't. I mean, these are all important little tips because it's relevant. I mean,
Yeah,
you do have these administrative people, these I don't want to say it's A lot of times it's white women, but
Yeah,
it could be black women, other people, and that become a problem in these work environments. So it's very strategic and smart to determine
yeah.
who's important and who's not.
I honestly, I found that I have to do that, um, because you do see a lot of the same players, and I will say I come from bona fide assholes, and I can be an asshole,
Ah,
and I don't
I
like to
love
be.
it.
And I don't like to be, but I really truly can be. And so
Yeah.
even if my response is, and people say, oh, that's passive, it's not passive aggressive. It is very honest and direct. I just
Yeah.
filter it before it gets to the point where it is so overtly offensive, right? I'll say something to somebody and they have to stop and think like, well, did she just check me? You know, it's like, cause
Yeah.
we go figure that out.
You're
You
like, I
go
come
figure that
from
out.
bona fide assholes. I love
I
it.
really do. I kid you not. So,
Hey, we
um,
do we do have our people, and you
right.
don't know how people are raised, the tongue. One of the things, it's funny you say that, because growing up, my mom was very quick-witted. She was sharp,
Hmm.
and when I was a kid, I was like, how does she get that way? How does she do that? Where she could
Yeah.
just write and just get you told. And I was always so in awe of it. And it's so funny. I believe I have the
Mastered
gift.
it. There you
Yeah.
go. It's in
It
the
just comes with
DNA.
age. Yes.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
realize you don't have to get angry. You don't have to change your disposition. You don't have to do any of that. You can just be very clear. I remember I had a woman in the workplace, and for whatever reason, again, this was actually the same woman that used to steal my work. And she, for
Hmm.
whatever reason, just did not like me. And
Hmm.
she told one of the other girls, so she told one of the other girls that I can't stand that. This is a white girl. I can't stand that B. I want to punch her in her face.
The
And I was
white
like,
girl
wow,
said this about you, really.
about me. Right, to another girl. I
Hmm.
was like, well, I said, you should have told her to do it.
Right?
I
Told
would
her
have
to
loved
come over
to
here
see
and
how that
try.
would, yes. I said, I would have
Hmm.
loved to see how that would have went off. Um, but then
And go ahead, I'm
I did
sorry.
confront her, and because she was just doing stuff,
Uh-huh.
and I confronted her one morning. Got into work super early. She was like one of the first people that would get into work. I got into work extra early that morning. Got into work about 6:30 that morning. Just me and her in the office, and I went over to her. I said, "Yeah, so I heard that you wanted to punch me in my face. Like we're literally in the
Uh,
office 6:30 in the
uh-huh.
morning." And she's
Uh-huh.
like, her face was like beet red,
Uh-huh.
and I was
Uh-huh.
like, "That's not professional." I said, "But I would have loved to see you try to do that." And I
Mhm,
just stood
mhm.
right there. And she was just
Was
like, she was just like beat red. She couldn't say anything. She couldn't do anything. And I was
so
like,
what
don't you ever talk about me in that way again. And so
uh,
this is the asshole part because I will meet you outside. I will
uh-uh.
meet you in the parking lot, or I will meet you at 6:30 in the morning in the office where it's just me and you. And I double dog dare you
I will meet you
because
outside.
listen,
Oh my God. So what was it like after that? Just
oh, she was,
curious.
I mean, she still didn't like me, but she never said anything else to me.
Okay. Yeah.
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 I
Mm.
was like, because here's nothing but space and opportunity. Like, let's
Yeah.
try that and see how that goes. I said, I
Okay.
guarantee you, before anybody get in this office, we would have finished where we're going to start. We would have finished it. And it would be
It
your word against mine.
it's just crazy to me because I've
Yeah.
never, I mean, your experiences with like physical threats, like
Yeah.
that's crazy to me. I've never had that. I've had a lot of stuff happen. It's very interesting to listen to Black women tell their stories, but
Yeah.
somebody approaching you physically, somebody saying, I want to just punch her in her face, like that's crazy to me. Like
And you want to punch me in
that,
my face because I don't want you to steal my work. Make that make
right.
sense.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
I
Well,
have
I mean,
stories for days, Erin, I tell you. And all of them are literally in the same space. So where I work at now I
Yeah,
work as a contractor. So I'm kind of, I can really remove myself a lot more from a
sure.
lot of the day-to-day stuff. I can go to my corporate office and work and not have to, be around these people every day. But when I'm around them, I just, really focus on I get in and I get out.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
goal.
You don't try to get too involved in anything other
Yeah,
than work, right? Yeah, and keep it professional. Um,
exactly.
what are you, just curious, because you're very strategic about the way you interact. Do you ever do, I know you said you had the one friend at that one office where you dealt with the woman who came up on you. Um, but how are you with friends in the office? Like, usually no?
Um, I usually do. Um, Yeah, I usually do. Like not a lot of people though. Like I will
Mm-hmm.
talk to maybe one or two people. Like if there's an office of 50 people, I'm probably talking to one or two of them. But
Right.
I mean I like people. I like
Yeah.
people who again, I don't talk to people who don't know how to talk to people, but I'm a real people's person.
Mhm.
Get that from my mother. I can talk to anybody. Um, I can talk to anybody about anything, honestly. So I love people, but I don't like problematic people. I just
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So I do. I believe that you can find friends and acquaintances at work. I don't like there are people I talk to at work, but I don't talk to outside of work, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it
Um,
does.
yeah, I may go grab coffee. It's like, oh, I'm going down to grab coffee, and we'll go get coffee or something like that. Um,
Right.
I have one friend that, I met at an office and I didn't really talk to anybody but her. And then she changed jobs. And so when I would go talk to her, of course, the people around her would try to get in a conversation. And she said, yeah, when I was leaving, they were like, oh, do you think Kwanzaa's going to come over here and talk to us? And she's like, no, she never came over here to talk to y'all. She came to talk to me. You guys just got in a
It
conversation.
just makes them want to talk to you more,
It really
It's
does. I
just like
learned
you're
that.
like a
Yeah,
little, they're just so inquisitive. Like I
exactly.
find, especially not necessarily black people, but white people for sure. Like if
Yeah. Oh
you,
my gosh.
they just want to, it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why we're
Yeah.
so fascinating to them. But when you don't talk to them, even intentionally not talking, it's like they want to talk to you more.
For sure. For
Mm-hmm.
sure. And
Wow.
it's like they want your attention. I remember a colleague, he was like, yeah, people just want your attention in any way. It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be bad. They just want your attention. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is so weird to me.
It's just happened to me so many times. Like they're
Yeah.
so intrigued. I have a neighbor like this. I mean, I talk to this neighbor, um, and I know that neighbor probably tells all the other neighbors that I don't talk to whatever she
Right.
could get out of me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very, just it's like why am I so interesting, Like
Exactly.
not, but
Exactly.
you're trying to put the pieces together. How did you get over here kind of thing.
Exactly. But it's
Yeah.
different like in the workplace because you are there to, be a professional and nobody wants to lose their job by, getting out of pocket. And so I just really do believe you just have to kind of guard your own space, set your own boundaries. And,
Sure.
and people have to respect you, teach people, what they say, you have to teach people how to treat you. Like
You
I
do.
really truly believe that you have to teach people how to treat you. And sometimes you have to continue to give them the same people that same lesson over and
Yeah.
over again until they get it.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of teaching people how to treat me. And the only way I can do that is to be honest. One of the things I always say is, it's nothing better between two people than an understanding.
Mm.
So I am always going to be honest. If you say something that's offensive, I'm going to say that's offensive. Um, and I'm just going to always be honest. I really
Yeah.
am. So,
I like this approach. I like it.
yes.
I like it. It's it's a unique one, we haven't heard yet on the podcast. So I like this approach.
Yeah.
I I've enjoyed talking to you. This has been great.
Oh, thank
So,
you. I enjoyed it as well. But I'm saying this is
yeah,
coming from like I put my PR, my public relations hat on. So it's like, how do you manage people? How do you manage crises? So that's the approach. I think that's where it's generally coming from.
Yeah, and that I think as being a Black woman and navigating
Yeah,
these spaces is definitely it is a little bit of public relations,
for
really.
sure.
You do. I never thought about it that way until you
Yeah.
said it, but you do need to manage it,
Crisis,
because
crisis management.
like it or not, I mean, if you're relying on somebody for a paycheck,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
stuff's going to happen, and it's not going to necessarily bend our direction in the favor of our direction, right? So
Exactly. And
you
another
gotta,
thing, Erin, if I can share, I think I want
yeah,
people to recognize, especially young people. I think they got it more than maybe our generation, that you have options. Like there's
yeah.
so many options. A lot of times we feel like we get into these spaces, and this is honestly, this was how I discovered your channel,
Mm,
your podcast a few weeks ago, probably about a month or so ago. I was laying in my bed one Saturday morning and I was so exhausted because the job that I was in was just draining me. I mean, absolutely draining me. Every day I would come home exhausted. And I really felt like, with all of my accomplishments, with all of my years of experience, I was like, man, I don't have any options. And it wasn't that I didn't feel like I had any options. And I can't remember which episode it was that I first got tuned into Coffee No Cream. But
uh,
that thing, when I say broke a spell, I got off that thing and I binged like 4 or 5 episodes that morning. I did not get out of bed. I binged like 4 or 5 episodes. And by the time I got off, that was like, no, I can do anything. I can do whatever
anything.
I want. And I mean, it was just like whatever that heaviness was, just listening to everybody's stories. That's why I was like,
Yeah,
I have to share. But listening
yeah.
to everybody's stories was such a burden, like lifting a burden off of me. And that same week, I kid you not, that same week, went to work. I had the incident where the lady turned around. I was like, what? Why do I have to repeat? I was like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. I left that day. I left that day and I called my boss and I said, I will not be going back there. I said, I can't. I cannot do it. We have to figure out something immediately.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm glad you called. I got this opportunity to, and just like that, change jobs. That happened on like a Tuesday. I talked with him that Tuesday afternoon. I talked with him again that Thursday. That Thursday was my last day. I started a new job on that Friday or that Monday.
Yeah.
So
And
sometimes yeah,
you do have options. And I'm
you
so
have
glad you said
options.
that. Sometimes your options are around you and you don't even
Exactly.
realize they're around you. I had a situation myself recently where I'm like, okay, because I work for myself, and you know, and you see what's coming, and you know what's
Right.
on the books. And I went back to something, and I just was like, yeah, we need to revisit this. You said you wanted to do this thing, da 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 da, and it's I pitched it yesterday, and it's not on, but it's pretty much on. It's a six-figure opportunity. So
Amen.
yeah, so like my thing is, you have options. Sometimes you just
Yes,
need to tap into what those options are, and you don't need to limit yourself on what those options can be, right?
exactly.
You're so fortunate as to, be able to make a call and be like, listen, I can't be here. And sometimes maybe if you're on a job out there, you're listening, it might be as easy as that.
Yeah,
Maybe there is somewhere else you can move to within your organization to get some immediate relief, because my whole thing is, I talk about, don't let these people get in your head, kill your confidence. You need to always be in
exactly.
motion on something, because as long as you're in
Yes,
motion, that gives you proof that there is another option. There is something else
exactly.
that you can do. And sometimes the answers, or the immediate answers, are really close by. And that might
Yes,
just sound kind of vague, because that's the only way you can talk about that kind of stuff. It is sort of just like, it's not really definitive for
right.
anyone, other than just pay attention, look around, and maybe even take an inventory of everything you have going on, what you can do, what your skill sets are, um, your experience, all of those things, to try to figure out what your next move is. I think we just kind of tend to sit and stew and think,
Exactly.
I don't know what I'm going to do, because we're so beholden to these people and these jobs,
Right.
but
And then
you're
get
more,
mentors. Like I'm a huge proponent of a mentor.
oh yeah.
I have many,
Yep. Yep.
reach out to people, have virtual coffees,
Yep.
just go to conferences, meet people. Like I am a huge, I tell my, anybody to ask, every job that I've ever had, except for going into the military, I got it through word of mouth or a reference. Every single job.
Yeah.
Every single job. Meeting, just seeing somebody on the elevator and you're like, hi, good morning. Like, going into the office every day and seeing the same person on the elevator. It's like, hey, how are you this morning? And, just building that basic rapport, could land you an opportunity. Um,
It, yep.
yeah,
Stay in motion. Get out there, network, meet people.
yes.
Don't just sit at home and watch TV and say you'll figure out tomorrow or bury your head in the sand. I mean, you can do that for a day or two,
Yeah,
but look, you got to get out here, just constantly be working on something because you just never
exactly.
know. That could be your next opportunity.
For sure.
I'm the queen of a conference. I love a conference. Oh my goodness.
Me
I
too.
do. I love a conference. I've had so many coaches, like business
Yes.
coaches, which can get expensive. But like I say, if you have a coach or especially if you're trying to get somewhere in your life, right? And they can jump you instead of going from A to B, but they can get you from A to F.
Right.
You don't pay for it if you can, right?
Yeah.
And get that learning, get that experience. There's so many things out there and ideas will just come to you. I love a conference. So
Yeah.
I'm
It's
here. I'm
it,
here.
it's interesting when you talk about when I talk about mentoring and then you talk about a coach. I think that's a generational thing too. And I think the generation of the mentor is kind of rolling out, and a lot of people from our generation is more like, oh, I'm gonna be a business coach or whatever coach for for a fee. But I think the still traditional mentor is still a good way to go.
Yeah. But be careful about these coaches because,
Yeah,
we're in the world of the internet and
exactly.
people are like, I coach, I
Everybody's a
coach.
coach.
It's because they really are.
They
Before,
really
like
are.
I told you, before we started recording, I always wanted to have a YouTube channel. And I had tried to start one a few different times or grow my other channel a few different times. So I hired a coach for YouTube. Um, I'm not bragging, but I I hired her because I was like, okay, she's great. Like, okay, she's gonna give me the tools. And immediately, as soon as I got into her course, she tried to throw us to the assistant who had no
Uh,
following, who nobody followed. Like, girl, you're not big enough to do that yet, right?
yeah, yeah.
And her videos, I didn't. Everybody's got a different path, but I look back at her and think I wasted. I think I paid $1,000 for that course.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's getting like 600 views, maybe. You know,
Wow.
400. I'm like, and I'm not, no disrespect to somebody just getting started. That's exciting. I mean, some of my videos only have that. I'm new. Like, I'm
Yeah,
excited if I get anything, but I just feel like I should have looked at that more wisely
right.
because um if you're out here coaching on it, you need to be way farther ahead than I am,
For
is all I'm
sure.
saying. So be careful of who you hire to coach you, because
Yeah,
everybody claims they're a coach, and a lot of times they're just collecting money.
exactly. Yeah. But
Hmm.
that's probably a whole other
Yes.
whole
Yo.
discussion. But I
Yeah.
always say you'll know them by their fruits. Yeah, it's the scripture. You'll know them by their fruits. It's like
Yeah.
when I see people that I know and they're like, "Oh, I'm a life coach," and it's like, "But you don't have your life together."
Life.
So,
What? Why
coaching
would
on
you?
what? Yeah, but
Right.
yeah,
Life coach. That's a biggie. That's a
yeah.
biggie.
But
But
they'll
yeah.
get on social media, and I mean, they talk that talk, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
And the thing is, social media is great. The
yeah,
internet is great. That allows us to be here talking right now. And there are some
right,
wonderful, amazing parts of it. And it could really help you. And I tell women all the time, and I know this, the internet and social media kind of levels the playing field for people who want to get into something,
Right.
and get into doing something, even if they want to do content. I mean, you can do that. It's work, but it
That's
levels the
true.
playing field. But you've got to be careful of who you're looking to as your leader, right?
Yes.
So that's
Agree.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're young, I think, and I want to talk about young people. I'm not saying anything bad about young people, so people don't come for me. I'm just
Right.
saying it's not what it appears to be,
Not at all.
No, there's real
Not
life
at all.
happening when the camera isn't rolling. So,
Yes.
yes. So anyway, Dr. Kwanzaa, this has been great.
I've
Thank you.
enjoyed
Thank you.
myself.
I know this has been so good. I might have to bring you back, because I want to start doing panels on certain
Oh, I would love
things.
that.
Yeah, so we just, I have some ideas. We did the one with, it was three of us. We did friendships. I've got some other ideas. So yeah, you might be a great panel candidate.
I would love
This
that.
it's fun,
Yeah.
it's fun having these conversations. So let everybody know where they can find you if they want to say hello, or you have your podcast, you could tell people about it.
So I do. I have a podcast called Dr. And I do it with my daughter and my cousin. All three of us got our PhDs around the same time. They actually got theirs in 2022. I didn't get mine until 2023. But I have mine in humanities. My daughter has hers in psychology, and my cousin has hers in I think like social work, or like she's a psychiatrist, so she can prescribe medication. So we
Oh,
take
okay.
different topics. Yeah. So we take different topics. We talked about everything from community to friendship, self-care, is an upcoming topic. So we talk about topics from those different perspectives. I usually kind of give the, humanities, like the humanistic take on topics such as community. My daughter
Mhm.
will talk about the psychological importance of community, and my cousin will talk about like the mental health component of community. So we, doctors, we're kind of just getting started, but we're having a lot of fun. I think we have 3 episodes up so far. First is an introduction episode. I also am the founder of a nonprofit organization, Girlfriend Therapy, and you can visit that website and it'll take you to all my other things, which is girlfriendtherapy.org. Is the website. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, just under Kwanzaa Gibson. I'm on Girlfriend Therapy has a Facebook page, as well as oh gosh, IG. I think Girlfriend Therapy is on IG. And then myself, you guys can see my hair is up. My hair has a life of its own. So I do have a Dr. K Locked in Gray hair hair
Beautiful.
page on IG as well. And I think that's really it. And I have a lot of different YouTube channels where it's just doing everything from art to thrifting to girlfriend therapy is probably the most established, where I do a lot of podcasts and things like what you and I are doing today, and talk about a
Yeah.
lot of different topics. Used to do conferences before the pandemic, but there's some content there from the conferences as well. So you can definitely follow me or find me on Facebook, IG, and TikTok,
And I'll
as well
put
as
the
the Girlfriend
links.
Therapy website. Yes.
Okay. And I'll put the links below so
Oh,
everybody can
excellent.
find Dr. Kwanzaa and Dr.
Yeah.
and the locks, because they are beautiful. They're
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Like, yes, we love
I would
gray
be
hair over
sweating
here.
like crazy if I had them down, because they usually like they cover my ears, like forget about it. So I was
Ah,
like, let me pull this up so that I'm not with the fan and all that stuff. So they're
the
pretty good
fan.
today.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yes.
I get it. No, people want those locks. They're beautiful. So,
Thank
yes,
you.
I get
Thank
it.
you.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode.